Worlds of If, Science Fiction Digest Magazine. Hi, I'm Gary Lovisi, and this time we're going to take a look at one of my kind of favorite magazines from the basically the late 50s to the late 60s.
Are you sure about that?
Something like it was around that time. Anyway, If was a interesting magazine, published a lot of great science fiction stories, had a lot of great artwork and cover art and interior art. And I'm just going to go through a few of the issues here that I picked up recently to show you them. They have great cover art. They're really cool. And it's classic 60s science fiction from the great old days. A little pulpy, but mostly really thoughtful, with great authors. So with that in mind, I'm going to just go through. I don't know who the authors are. I'd have to look them up. They're all in bags. I have to take them out of the bags to tell you. But just go through a little bit. So the cover is by Jack Gaughan, who did Cracked Saucer in Deep Space, and so that's Jack Gaughan. One of his better efforts, I would think. And stories. The short novel is by Clifford D. Samac, and then there's stories by professional, professional raconteur guys you can always count on. Jim Harmon, Daniel Kaluuya, Raymond E. Banks, and a few other people. Ray Russell, Ron Goulart's is in here too, and Fred. Excuse me. Oh, excuse me. And there's a feature by Frederick Pohl, and this is the March 1960 issue, and Fred Pohl was the feature editor. So that's March 1960 issue. I'm not going to take them out of the bags and look through them, but they have all great authors. Robert Heinlein, Keith Laumer, and Castle of Light by Keith Laumer. These are really nice condition issues. This is the January 64 issue, and it has a Paul Anderson story, Philip K. Dick. And
was Philip K. Dick alive in the 60s?
He was alive at the time, of course, at this time that this was written, yes. And it looks like a Kelly Freas cover, I think. I'm not sure. I should actually look and tell you, because I'm curious myself. So let me be curious. Who did the cover? Cover by McKenna for Three Worlds to Conquer by Eric Frank Russell. So you have this Philip K. Dick is Water Spout, which is on page 100. If I can get to it. Sometimes they have nice illustrations, sometimes they have no illustration. This one has a nice one by Virgil Finlay. Dick must have been very happy with this layout of this, his story with a full-page illustration on the other side, and it's by Virgil Finlay, none other. So he's, this is a good magazine. Had good, reliable, interesting science fiction stories. Fred Pohl was the editor, and he was an editor who knew how to edit and put out a magazine. He's putting out magazines since he was basically a kid. I think Fred Pohl was editing science fiction pulp magazines. I believe he edited Astounding, or not Astounding, it was another one, similar like that.
Amazing.
No, it wasn't Astounding or Amazing. It was
Galaxy.
No, it was an A.
I'm going through all of them.
Anyway.
Astonishing.
Astonishing. That was it. He started editing Astonishing Stories when he was like 17 years old or something.
Astonishing.
Yeah, it was quite astonishing. Yes. Okay. I mean, this is like, again, the January '63 issue. Frederick Paul's story, Robert Heinlein's story, Clifford Samac.
Sounds like Usual Suspects.
But these were incredibly talented. These were the best.
Should have taken them out of the bags before you started this video.
What? What did you say?
I said you should have taken these out of the bags before you started the video.
Nah, I'm going to do that. Why would you do that? This is January '61, and it's covered by Bob Ritter, which I don't know him. Let's see. J.T. McIntosh. It's a nice story. A nice illustration of the guy showing something.
Yeah, lovely.
Well, then sometimes when women talk too much, that ends up happening, you know?
Try it.
Yeah, I'm not going to try because I value my life. I think I want to wake up in the middle of the night with a knife in my back.
I'm 4'11". What are you worried about?
4'11", but you're 9 feet of terror.
Not a lot of illustrations in that one.
Yeah, there wasn't. As you can see, I'm not quite prepared, but I just wanted to, I came across these recently, and I think it'd be a good idea to show them, because, show them without showing them, kind of. This is a 1958 issue, which I do want to take out of the bag, because there's a Charles Beaumont story in it. James Blish, Philip K. Dick, Gordon Dickinson, Charles Fontenay, James Gunn, Raymond F. Jones, Bryce Walton, and Robert F. Young. I mean, geez, what a lineup. It's great.
That's where it's like a wraparound cover in the inside.
Yeah. And let me see if I can get it. These digest magazines for a long, long time, I mean, they were always read and collected, but they never had any, they don't have any illustration at all. I don't even know where the story starts here. Oh, here we go. Gordon Dixon. They were collected by the people that read them, subscribed to them, but they had no real collective value. In fact, you could buy these mint copies at places like Morristown Bookstore and other stores for $1.50 or something.
Is that because they're all reprints? Are they
reprints?
reprints?
No, they're not reprints.
So
some of them are. There's a lot of reprint magazines, but these were original stories. But it was just that there's so many of them. There was so, that science fiction magazines were these magazines, and these are from the '60s. The ones from the '50s are more collectible. This is July '61 with Gordon R. Dixon. The ones from the '50s are collectibles, and the one from the '60s are starting to become collectible, '60s and '70s, because we've moved on. We're in the 2024 now, strangely enough. We're in the future that we were always scared of. This is a November 1953 issue, and it has that look to it, that classic look, and it's got a story by William Tenn. These are beautiful, beautiful magazines. This is a November '61 issue. As Arthur C. Clarke and Skylark Smith. E. Doc Smith was known as Skylark Smith when he was writing his Skylark of Space stories. This is Masters of Space. I think that was the last one in the series that he had. It was serialized in, his stuff was serialized in If and in Galaxy. And this is, Edward E. Smith and E. E. Evans, Masters of Space. And it says Arthur C. Clarke, Keith Lamore, and Theodore Sturgeon. Phil Berry did the cover of this one. And so now they had no, see? So here's Masters of Space by E. Doc Smith. No, not even an illustration. It had the cover illustration, but and it says there's just no, oh, okay, so there's one that's not really that great. There's another, not too many. Some of these magazines have a lot of illustrations, and they have great illustrations by really great artists.
Well, they probably had a set amount of pages, and sometimes the stories didn't fill it up, so they.
It's the pages, but there's also the budget for the artwork, and if they got if you had like Virgil Finlay, or you wanted to get Kelly Freas or somebody like that to do the artwork, that would be a little bit more money than some of the other artists that nobody had heard of. Jack Gaughan was well known. He did a lot of the work here in these magazines. This is If, and then If was later, it was combined with Worlds of Tomorrow, but at this time you had E. Everett Evans and E. Smith, Jim Harmon, Kurt Vonnegut Jr.'s got a story in here, James Schmitz. Let's see what stories.
Like we're going to be here all night if you're going to open up every one of these like this.
Yeah, I know. So I figured we'd do an all-night video. And I just want to see what Kurt Vonnegut, and so it's 2 BRO2B, page 59. That's the Kurt Vonnegut story. No illustration or anything. I've never heard of this story.
Must be good.
He was when he was writing science fiction, he really was good. One Plucked to Planet. Nice issue.
Is Something Wicked This Way Comes science fiction?
He wrote a lot of good. He wrote Harrison Berger on. That was a masterpiece story that would relate with what's going on today in that country, with everything. This is June. This is June, in 1957. Has Asimov, Biggle. This is March 1962. Kings Who Die, a gripping saga of Men Against the Stars by Paul Anderson. John Pedersen cover. Really nice cover. That's from March 62. This is September 62. Chris Neville, Keith Lommerd, Gordon Dixon, Vance Andal. This is July 62. This is a really weird cover. Let me see who did this one. Just to find out here. Cover by Burns. This has Cordwainer Smith in it, Bryce Walton, Theodore Sturgeon, and a couple other people. No illustrations, not really many illustrations. That's the cover. It's kind of a weird cover. A nice group of these 60s, early 60s issues are pretty cool. This is November 63 when Kennedy was killed. This was beyond the President Kennedy was assassinated. This was probably on the newsstands. Worlds of If science fiction. And John Brunner, Damon Knight, Jack Williamson, Frederick Paul, Keith Laumer. A lot of the same names, but they were great names. They were great names. And that's the thing, you could always trust was that these guys always delivered. This is a August '58 issue with the Emsch cover. So they got a cover by Emsch for this one. And Lloyd Biggle, Harlan Ellison is in here, and Robert Silverberg, The Wages of Dead. This is a really, really cool one. August 1964. It's Heinlein's Farnham's Freehold, which you've ever read. Farnham's Freehold is just like one of the best kind of apocalyptic science fiction novel. After a nuclear war, Farnham and his family kind of bring back the world.
I like it because it's like reading a regular story. Like
you read it, right?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's I don't like science fiction normally because the names of everything is changed and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
Not in Farnham's Freehold. Farnham's Freehold is, it's a joy to read, actually.
Yeah. This is May '64. This is the Smith issue, actually. So it's pretty cool. The Smith issue. The Smith issue means it's E.E. Doc Smith, it's George O. Smith, and it's Cordwainer Smith, and it's Jack Smith.
That's cool.
And one of the stories is Fire in 2016, which, so that's 8 years ago now. Mm-hmm. So it's like so cool, so weird, like when you think about. So this magazine came out in 1964. This is 6 months after President Kennedy was assassinated. This was on the stands. He was killed November 22nd, 1963. This is out in May '64. It's the Four Smiths issue, and it's got a story, Fire, that takes place in 2016. What is that, 40 years in the future or something, which is actually 8 years in our past. That's so weird. Somebody should actually do a...
Why is that weird? It's 2001: A Space Odyssey.
No, but somebody should do an article or something, or even a book about all of the science fiction stories and novels that take place in a certain year, like 1984, just for example, and how wrong science fiction writers got it. Although in the case of 1984, Orwell kind of got it right. But no, just that the things that how they perceived that we would be living in the future, like all kinds of weird things and space travel and all kinds of.
Well, somebody should do an article on Star Trek on how many things they got right. They invented automatic doors, the flip phone, iPhone. I mean, everything but transporting.
Somebody should invent transporting. I think Elon Musk will do that. That's the next. I'm going to tell him this next project.
I like the Bewitched method better. Just blink and trick my nose.
Yeah. And this is February 1956. This is a new space thriller, Avoidance Situation by James McConnell. And it has also in it Paul Anderson, James Blish, John Jakes, Marion Maryland DeFord, George H. Smith. And this is like a spaceship submarine. Really cool, interesting illustration for the cover. And that's the If logo that I remember. See, this is the Worlds of If science fiction logo from the 60s, but this is the 50s, the way it looks. There's another one from the 50s. This is June '56. And like Analog and stuff, they had photo covers of rockets on it. So this is actually a real rocket from the 50s that went up. One of ours at the time of experiment, which didn't blow up, because in our early rocketing endeavors in NASA, we had quite a bunch of problems in the beginning. This is November 1960, Mind Snake by Jim Harmon, with a cover, I can't read it. Nice astronauts falling in space cover. Jim Harmon wrote some great stuff. And he was also a big fan and author. Had to do with big time radio. I mean, old time radio, and movies, and he was always at the L.A. At the L.A. book show, and put on by Tom Lesser every March or April. This is the September '59 issue. James H. Schmitz. Schmitz was a writer, and he became an editor. But in the heyday of his writings was in the '50s. He wrote some really good stuff. And then his amount of writing went down when he was doing editing. I guess he was editing. I'm not sure which magazines. Maybe If, or maybe one of the other magazines. His the May '63 issue, The Green World by Hal Clement. May '61. That's How It Goes by J.T. McIntosh. I think the thing that, you look at all these the covers on Ifs, and you see that they really do showcase the artwork a lot. It's just, you see the art, and you can enjoy the art. They don't throw a lot of words and titles and stuff on it. This is a February '58. Okay, so here they're going to put Assassin by J.F. Bone. Here you have stories by Asimov and Arthur C. Clarke. But, you can see that the art's kind of very outstanding on these issues. This is interesting. This is something I do not know about. This is the best science fiction from the worlds of If magazine. This is I think it's a one-shot. This is number 1. It was 50 cents. And had all of these great, this looks like the best, or here's that Kurt Vonnegut story in the beginning. This is from, I guess, 1964. I mean, you read the list here of authors. It's Kurt Vonnegut, Cordwainer Smith, Brian Aldiss, Frank Herbert, Fritz Leiber, A.E. Van Vogt, Lester Del Rey, Robert Bloch, Aldous Budrys, Clifford D. Simak, Frederick Paul, and James Schmitz. I mean, not illustrated, but at this point it doesn't need to be, because there's so many great authors in here. This is a very, very cool little trade paperback, best of, I guess, of If magazine, from If magazine. I've never seen this. It's pretty cool. I don't know how many there are. I assume that it's probably a one-shot, but who knows. Next one is, this is June '58, and it's kind of cool cover art depicting the Arthur C. Clarke story. March 1964, Keith Lamore. This is a cool cover. This is January 1960, and it's The Last Leap by Daniel F. Galouye. Cool cover. They had a good smattering of lesser known authors, and even some unknown authors I never heard of, as cover, whose stories were on the cover. So this is one like this October '58, This Man Alone by Don Barry. I never heard of Don Barry. They gave him the cover on this. But
is it a pseudonym for another author?
Might be a pseudonym, but probably not. I think it's just that he probably wrote a damn good story and they gave him the cover, because I want to see who's in here. Okay, well, you've got Dean McLaughlin, you've got Cordwainer Smith, You've got R.M. McKenna, Ron Goulart, and two other people I haven't heard of, and A. Bertrand Chandler. And let me see, this is an Ed Valigursky cover, and the illustrations inside are by Amsh, Freas, and Orban. You can't get better than that. Let me see if I can find.
Why don't you show us the cover first?
No, I'll show you the cover first. Nice cover. Valigursky. I can never find pages when I want to find a page, you know? It's really... I don't know who did this cover. I mean, who did that illustration. Usually they give you some indication, but they're nice illustrations. This is an interesting issue because each story is dated. This is 2150 AD, Ron Goulart story. This is 2017. This is Kelly Freas. That's his symbol, and you can tell here. So that's a nice Kelly Freas, or Freas. Kelly Freas actually did a cover for a Gryphon book years ago. I met him at the LA show.
He did our wedding picture.
He did our wedding picture too. So this is AD 2500 AD, Cordwainer Smith story. So I guess they did that. They dated the stories in this issue. This is by D. McLaughlin. Yeah, I was at the LA show and I met Kelly and Laura. And she had to go someplace. She had a meeting with somebody, and she left. She minded if I would sit with Kelly for a while. So I said, sure. You know, there's a whole show's going on all around me, and it was like an incredible show. And I said, sure. I said, I'll sit down with Kelly, and we'll just sit down and talk for like 2 hours. And we were going back and forth talking about everything, and it was great. It was great. It was like we were in the middle of chaos of the show because there's hundreds of people and book buying and all kinds of stuff going on. But him and me were just like in this little world, sitting at a table together and just, you know, looking at each other and BSing back and forth about everything. And he was such a great guy, such a sweetheart, you know. And then we're talking, and you know, he says, I don't know if I brought it up. I don't even think I could. I would have brought it up because I says, I don't think I could afford you, but I says, you should do a cover for me or something, or because I was doing all these books at the time, and maybe he said, I should do a cover for you. I says, oh yeah, you should, but I don't know if I could afford you because you know, you're like a an icon, and you know. But he did a cool cover for a book that I did by Michael Kurland, and as Lucille says, he did our wedding picture in a unique and interesting way that only Kelly Freas could do, and that's pretty cool. Yeah. Now let me finish up before I go babbling off.
It's brutal.
What? What did you say?
Brutal.
Well, it's a caricature.
Brutal.
This is February 57.
I love him, but it's brutal.
This is February 57, and this is Arthur C. Clarke, Bryce Walton, James McConnell, others in that issue. This is the September 63 issue. Lester Del Rey, Murray Leinster, and A.E. Van Voigt. First new science fiction story in 14 years, The Expendables. He stopped writing science fiction pretty much. I mean, he was writing so much great stuff. And then he got involved too deeply with Dianetics and L. Ron Hubbard and all of that stuff, and that kind of took his focus away from writing science fiction. And for that, a lot of old-time science fiction fans were angry because they missed his great stories, his great writing. This is the December 56 issue, and a really cool, very cool cover. But I never heard of this guy either, Dr. Weather Rydell, or Walther Rydell. But cover's cool, very nice. And this is a little more recent one from 1986, Worlds of If. This is the premiere issue of the new If. I don't know if it went past. So what happens? The magazine folded. It was combined with Worlds of Tomorrow. The Worlds of Tomorrow, that folded. They all folded. And then they wanted to bring back Worlds of If. And this is, I believe this is around 1986. And they were going to, and they had Roger Zelazny, Orson Scott Card, Larry Niven, A.E. Van Vogt, and Hilbert Schenk, among others, for this issue. And I guess I don't know if it took off or not, but somehow I have a feeling that it probably didn't. But it was, and that's just a look at some issues of If magazine. Long lamented, long gone, and much lamented, and not so collectible, but in the same token, becoming collectible, I think, because these digest magazines, the crime ones are very collectible. The science fiction ones from the 50s are collectible. From the 60s are collectible to an extent. Even the 60s and 70s are becoming sought after now, because people are realizing that all these had terrific cover art by great, well-known artists, and great stories by classic writers. The stories themselves have become classic, and there's a lot of good stuff in here, and it's a lot of good reading. So, if you enjoyed this presentation, give us a thumbs up. See how I segued that right in there?
It.
And I'm going to try and do some more videos, because I've been lazy, I know.
Mm-hmm.
And book haul videos and things and other stuff. So we'll see you next time. Thanks for looking.